All right, so today we're going to be doing a deep dive on a blog post
Okay.
called Do Submarine Swim?
Oh, wow.
It's by Janio over on the Coach's website. And, you know, I just love that title. I
Yeah.
think it's so intriguing. And when you think about it in relation to AI and higher education, it's fascinating. So whether you're a faculty member who's been feeling those tremors of this AI earthquake and maybe you're looking for ways to integrate it into your teaching, or you're just curious about
Yeah.
what all the buzz is about, this deep dive, I think, is going to be for you.
I love how Janio uses this question to kind of reframe the conversation about AI.
Yeah.
It's like he's taking us back to basics and asking us to really examine our assumptions about, what AI is, what it can do, what it can't do. And he borrows this question from the linguist Noam Chomsky,
Oh, okay.
who used it to challenge our ideas about language and meaning.
So how does this whole submarine question relate to AI? I'm kind of intrigued.
Well, think about it. A submarine operates underwater, but does it really swim in the same way that a fish does?
Right. It's a different kind of movement.
Exactly. So just like we wouldn't say a submarine swims, Johnny is arguing that while AI can generate text or answer questions,
Uh-huh.
maybe that doesn't mean it's thinking in the same way that humans do.
Okay. So it's about sort of being precise with our language and not getting caught up in this debate about whether AI can think, but instead focusing on what it can actually do.
Right, and how that changes the way we approach education.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe let's talk a bit about what AI can do and how that relates to higher education.
Well, one of the things AI can do incredibly well is predict.
Predict.
Like these large language models, the one behind ChatGPT,
Mm.
they're essentially prediction machines. They've been trained on massive amounts of data, text, and code,
Right.
and they can use that data to predict what comes next in a sequence,
Okay.
whether it's words in a sentence or lines of code in a program.
So if AI is really good at predicting and even, arguably giving us answers,
Right.
what does that mean for faculty? Like, what's left for us to do in the classroom?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? It really forces us to rethink that traditional model of education where, the faculty member is the sage on the stage.
Right. The dispenser of knowledge.
Exactly. And if that knowledge is already readily available to students through these AI tools,
Yeah.
then our role as educators has to evolve.
So are we moving away from being the answer key
Hmm.
and becoming more like, I don't know, maybe navigators,
I like that.
helping students to navigate this sea of information and make sense of it all?
Yeah, it's about shifting the focus from just passively receiving information to actively engaging with it,
Ah.
questioning it, and ultimately constructing their own understanding.
So it's about inquiry then.
It is. It's about inquiry.
So not just about finding the right answers, but knowing what questions to ask in the first place.
Exactly. And that becomes even more important in an AI-driven world where we're bombarded with information constantly.
Absolutely. Students need to be able to sift through all that noise and figure out what's credible, what's relevant.
Yeah, they need those critical evaluation skills.
Right. So how do we cultivate that kind of thinking in our students?
Yeah.
How do we create this culture of inquiry in the classroom,
Mhm.
especially now with AI in the mix?
Well, Janio talks about faculty becoming architects of inquiry.
Okay.
That's about designing those learning experiences that really challenge students to think for themselves,
Okay.
to use AI as a tool for exploration,
Right.
not just as a shortcut to the answer.
Architects of inquiry. I love that term. So what would that look like in in a real classroom setting? What are some concrete examples of how faculty can design these inquiry-based learning experiences?
Sure. Well, one example could be, using AI as a collaborative research partner.
Okay.
Imagine a group of students working together to research a complex issue like climate change.
Yeah.
They could use AI tools to gather and analyze data from various sources, identify trends, even generate visualizations.
So it's like AI becomes like a super-powered research assistant in a way,
Exactly.
helping them to process information more efficiently.
And freeing up their cognitive bandwidth to focus on those higher level thinking skills.
Right. Like analyzing the data,
Right.
synthesizing it.
Yeah, drawing conclusions and then presenting their findings in a compelling way.
And because they're working together, they're also, bouncing ideas off of each other,
Yes.
challenging each other's perspectives, building those teamwork skills.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the faculty member's role then becomes more about guiding and supporting,
Yeah.
making sure students are using AI effectively and ethically.
Right. That makes sense. So it sounds like AI can really push us to be more creative and thoughtful in our teaching.
I think so. It's an opportunity to rethink our role as educators and design learning experiences that are more engaging, more relevant, and ultimately more meaningful for students.
I completely agree with you there.
And we're back to our deep dive, on AI and higher education and inquiry-based learning.
Yeah. It's so interesting to think about all this, with this backdrop of AI and, how we can make sure we're still, encouraging students to really dig deep and ask those questions and not just rely on AI to give them the answers.
Yeah, and in Janio's piece, he really highlights how AI can be a tool for that inquiry.
Yeah.
It's not about replacing the human element,
Right.
but it's about really augmenting it and creating new ways for exploration and discovery.
Yeah, I think it's so important to emphasize that because there's a lot of anxiety right now about AI.
Mm-hmm.
In education, people are worried about, robots replacing teachers
Right.
and students just becoming overly reliant on technology.
Yeah.
But it seems like Janio's argument is it's much more nuanced than that.
Absolutely. It's about seeing AI as a partner, in learning a partner that can help us do things we couldn't do before, see things from different angles,
Yeah.
ask new and more challenging questions.
So let's get practical here. We've talked about, collaborative research projects, simulations. How else can faculty, really incorporate AI into this inquiry-based learning?
Well, one strategy that I find really effective is using AI as a starting point for discussion.
Okay.
So, for example, you could ask students to use ChatGPT to generate a response to a prompt or a question, something related to your course material.
And then use that AI-generated response as a springboard for a deeper conversation.
Exactly. You could ask students to analyze it. What are its strengths? What are its weaknesses?
Yeah.
What are some alternative perspectives? What are the ethical implications?
Right.
You could even ask them to challenge the AI's assumptions.
It's almost like using AI as a provocateur.
Yeah.
To really get them thinking critically and creatively.
Right. And it also models that healthy skepticism that
Yeah.
we need to have in this age of information overload.
That's so important. We can't just, take everything AI tells us at face value.
Exactly. We need to question it, interrogate it, consider its biases.
Yeah, and that's where our role as faculty, I think, becomes even more important.
Right.
We're not just content experts anymore.
Yeah.
We're guides, mentors,
Yeah.
Facilitators, helping students navigate all of this
Right.
and develop those critical thinking skills.
Absolutely.
So it's almost like AI is forcing us to become better teachers in a way,
I think so.
to really think deeply about pedagogy
Yeah.
and how we can create those engaging and challenging learning experiences.
Yeah. It's pushing us to be more creative, to experiment more, to step outside our comfort zones.
Which is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if we're asking our students to be lifelong learners, to embrace new technologies and new ways of thinking,
Right.
we need to do the same.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked about using AI as a starting point for discussion. What about other things like personalized learning? Can AI play a role there?
Definitely. I think AI can be really powerful for personalizing the learning experience.
Okay.
You could use AI to create adaptive learning pathways where students progress at their own pace and receive feedback tailored to their individual needs.
We talk a lot about personalized learning,
Mm.
but it can be so hard to actually implement,
Yeah.
especially in, large classes.
Right.
Could AI help us overcome some of those hurdles?
I think so. It could also help us identify students who might be struggling
Yeah.
and give them extra support.
Okay, so this is all sounding very promising and exciting,
Mm-hmm.
but I think we should also, acknowledge that there are some challenges with integrating AI,
Of course.
right?
Yeah.
What about things like access and equity, making sure that all students have the same opportunities to benefit?
Yeah, that's a crucial point. And we need to be mindful of that as we move forward.
Yeah.
We have to make sure that AI is being used to close that digital divide,
Right,
not to widen it.
exactly. And what about bias?
Yeah, that's another big one.
Yeah.
AI systems can perpetuate biases.
Yeah.
So we need to be aware of that and take steps to mitigate those biases.
Right. And that kind of brings us back to, the importance of critical thinking.
Right.
We can't just blindly trust these AI systems.
Absolutely.
We need to teach our students how to evaluate sources, to consider multiple perspectives.
Exactly. Because if we're asking our students to embrace the unknown, to step outside their comfort zones,
Right.
we need to model that.
Yeah. To be okay with not having all the answers.
Right?
To be open to making mistakes.
And to learn from those mistakes.
Yeah, and to bring our students along on that journey with us.
Exactly. To create a learning environment where it's safe to not know everything, where it's more important to ask questions than to get the right answer.
That's beautiful. I love that. So as we start to wrap up, this deep dive, what's one key takeaway you would want our listeners to walk away with?
I would want them to remember that AI is not a threat to education.
Oh.
It's an opportunity.
Yeah.
An opportunity to reimagine what learning can be, to create more engaging, more effective, more equitable learning experiences for all students.
And for us as educators,
Yes.
to really, reclaim our role as those facilitators of learning,
Yeah.
guides on the side, co-creators in this journey of discovery.
Absolutely. So let's embrace those possibilities. Let's experiment. Let's innovate.
Yeah. Let's work together to create a future where AI empowers all learners to reach their full potential.
Beautifully said. So to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this exploration of AI and inquiry in higher education.
Yeah.
And we hope you found this conversation as thought-provoking as we have.
Absolutely. And, we encourage you to keep exploring this fascinating topic.
Yeah.
Because the future of education is in our hands. And with AI, the possibilities are truly limitless.
Yeah, it really does make you think, how will we use AI to really empower students to become lifelong learners? It's such a big question, and it feels like we're at this really pivotal moment in education.
And we are. And it is both exciting and kind of overwhelming, right? I
Yeah.
mean, we have this incredibly powerful tool, but we're still trying to figure out, how to use it effectively and ethically and responsibly.
Exactly. And I think one thing that's really important to remember is that, AI is not a magic solution. It's not going to come in and just fix everything overnight. No,
Yeah.
definitely not. It's a tool, and like any tool, it depends on the skill of the person using it.
Right,
And in this case, it's not just the students using it, it's us as faculty too.
right. We have to be willing to learn and experiment and adapt and, share that journey with our students.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's all about that growth mindset, right?
Yeah.
And not just for our students, but for us as educators too.
Right.
We need to be open to new possibilities and, maybe let go of some of those old assumptions about how teaching and learning should work.
Yeah, and be okay with not having all the answers.
Mm.
One of the most important things we can teach students is how to be comfortable with uncertainty,
Right.
how to ask good questions, how to just keep learning throughout their lives.
Because the world is changing so quickly, right?
It is.
And those, jobs of the future might not even exist yet.
Yeah.
So what we can do is equip students with those transferable skills, those human skills that AI can't replicate.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Things like critical thinking, creativity, communication, collaboration.
Right, problem-solving, adaptability,
Mhm.
emotional intelligence.
Exactly. All those things that make us human.
Yeah, because those are the skills that help us, navigate complexity and build relationships and solve those problems that require more than just processing information.
Right. And those skills are going to become even more valuable in an AI-driven world
Uh-huh.
as AI takes over more of those routine tasks. It's those human skills that are really going to set people apart in the workforce.
Yeah. So it's not about, humans versus machines.
Right.
It's about how they can work together, how they can, complement each other's strengths.
Exactly. And that's where I think the real magic happens, when
Yeah.
we can harness that power of AI to, enhance human capabilities, to augment our creativity, to expand our understanding of the world.
Yeah, it's about seeing AI as this partner, this collaborator in this journey of, learning and discovery.
Exactly.
It's a really exciting vision.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's a vision that has the potential to really transform education, in profound and positive ways.
It's about empowering students to be, not just consumers of information, but creators of knowledge and innovators and problem solvers who are ready to tackle these challenges of the 21st century.
Right.
It's about reimagining what's possible.
Yes.
Breaking down those traditional barriers of the classroom.
And empowering students to become those lifelong learners, adaptable, resilient, ready for whatever the future holds.
Because in a world that's changing so fast, the ability to learn and adapt and evolve is really, maybe the most valuable skill we can give our students.
It's the key to unlocking their potential, to shaping their own destinies, to making a positive impact on the world.
And that's what education is really all about, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So let's go back to that question we posed earlier. How will you use AI to empower your students to become lifelong learners? It's a question worth, really thinking about and exploring and experimenting with. Well, that's about all the time we have for today. Oh. But, thank you so much for joining us on this exploration of AI and inquiry in higher education. We hope you found it as thought-provoking as we did.
Absolutely.
And we encourage you to keep exploring these questions, to keep questioning, to keep learning.
Yes.
And until next time, keep diving deep into these really important topics.
Bye, everyone.